Live streaming and recording.
All right, guys. Jeff Durkin here. We are Change Connecticut. Outside the PATH station on 9/11 Street Action, we just caught up with Glenn Zarmanov of 9/11 Gate 2012, and We Are Change New Jersey. And he's going to talk about 9/11, what he thinks of the media and the rise of independent media, and much more in his perspective. So, Glenn, thanks for coming out today.
You want me to hold it? Or?
Yeah.
Basically, we're here. It's 9/11/2012. We're in front of the new World Trade Center building number 7. Silverstein Properties. There were 7 buildings known as the World Trade Center complex. 7 was directly outside the complex, and the new one is also, it's just a little bit skinnier and a little bit taller than the old 47-story one. I believe this one is 52 stories, and it's a slightly different color, and it's also a parallelogram shape instead of the trapezoid shape that was the original Building 7. But basically, still, to this day, most people don't even know that a third building collapsed on 9/11, which is why we're here 11 years later in the trenches, or on the streets, rather, in the info war, trying to get the word out, not only about the fact that a third skyscraper besides the 2 main trade towers collapsed, but also that there's all this new evidence that was released 2 years ago, a week before the 9th anniversary, nicknamed 9/11 Gate. 5 terabytes of never-before-seen video was leaked, and we had a screening to kick off this weekend's events this past Friday in Jersey City, New Jersey. So I'm very proud to have kicked off the weekend's events. We Are Change New Jersey, wearechangenewjersey.com, or you can find me on YouTube at We Are Change NJ. And basically the reason that you still haven't heard about this, even though the truth officially came out 2 years ago, and now we're into the 3rd year of the truth being available publicly, all the different collapse videos as well as the public news reports from 9/11 are now in our hands, but still this has gone underreported or not reported at all because of the mainstream media, which I call the fake stream media. More and more people are waking up to the fact that the news is a cartoon, and it really has no news. It's infotainment, and it's not actual news. So that's the real problem here, is that we wouldn't have to be on the streets if it were for this situation. If it weren't for the situation. So basically, it's the media's fault that we don't have this information getting out there. Because, again, it's all public now. NIST was forced to release 5 terabytes to the International Center for 9/11 Studies, but the only thing that the media talked about was that now infamous NYPD helicopter clip where you see the helicopter circling the towers with the towers burning from an aerial view. But this video doesn't really show anything new. What's being ignored since 2 years ago is all these other videos in this new batch of tapes talking about bombs in the buildings, talking about how there was advanced knowledge that the attacks were to happen, how basically we have all these new eyewitnesses talking about the airplanes impacting the towers, talking about different descriptions that were not originally broadcast on the news. So even though this brand new video came out 2 years ago, it's not being discussed except on places like YouTube. And that's how the establishment was able to get away with 9/11 in the first place, is the control of information, because they control the media that participated directly in the attacks, and also the media covered up the attacks. So this is all the original data, CNN, CBS, you name it, as well as amateur videos from the attacks that were covered up, but still to this day the media pretends like it doesn't exist.
Just as maybe make this a little social chat here, we got one of the questions on a social stream here. What happened in the interior of World Trade Center 6 on 9/11? Do you know anything about that?
Well, it's a good question. It's a good question. There were several other buildings, 4 other buildings that did not get to collapse, but they were incredibly damaged directly below the Twin Towers. That is buildings 3, 4, 5, and 6. And even though their roofs were caved in from the collapsing towers, they were on fire and damaged beyond repair, but they did not collapse. But miraculously, building number 7, which was half the height of the 2 towers directly across the street from the complex, that came down, even though it was barely damaged. So building number 6, I believe, was the Postal or Customs Office. There was a bunch of government agencies in the World Trade Center, not just Building 7, which was a nest, a hub for 58 government agencies located on the 23rd floor, the Office of Emergency Management. So not only was Building 7 a government building, but the entire World Trade Center complex was run by the government and the banksters. So basically, I don't know too much of the design of Building 6, but it was one of the lower structures which got severely impacted and was on fire but miraculously did not collapse. So just look at the tapes. You can see the firemen pouring water onto number 6 and number 5 and the lower surrounding structures. And yet Building 7, that blaze was not being fought all day. And then they lied and claimed they didn't have enough water, even though there was water spewing everywhere. And they had a fireboat parked next to the Hudson River, which could easily pump water from the Hudson River. So there's a bunch of anomalies when it comes to the lower buildings of 9/11. They're seen on video being put out by water, and yet that same water could not be applied to Building 7. They let that burn all day. So yeah, a lot of questions that even I don't know the answer to. For instance, there was a bunch of bullion, gold and silver, located in Buildings 4, 5, and 6 that was recovered, and that story was basically never talked about again. So those lower level buildings called the World Trade Center are also very important to investigate, not just Building 7 and 1 and 2.
All right, just to switch a little topic here, what do you think of the rise of independent media here, all the different people here, you streamers, people with cameras, all that, and how important really is to be the media now, especially since we know most of the media is controlled by corporations?
Well, exactly, and not just any corporations, but particularly 5 corporations. So how is that a free press when your entire global media network is owned and occupied by these major conglomerates which run the entire world over? It's the utmost importance for us to be here covering it with Ustream and other media sources like Twitter and YouTube, because that is the way that people will be reached. You know, people always say, well, this is too big, you couldn't cover up something like this. Well, guess what? It has been covered up, because social media, the way it is now, did not exist back in 2001. YouTube wasn't even around until 2005. So these are just some things to think about. People say, well, if this was really true that it was an inside job, we would know about it. You know, it would leak out. Well, guess what? Bits of it have leaked out. And now we have the mother lode. 5,000 gigabytes, nicknamed 9/11 Gate, came out 2 years ago, and still the media is not talking about it. So despite the fact that it's a public inside job and some of the details are now declassified, there's still a media blackout on the subject. In fact, Time Magazine ran with the cover story last year for the anniversary, the 10th anniversary, saying beyond 9/11. So the theory is, the idea is, it's time to move on. It's time to just forget about it. Obama got Osama, even though there's no evidence. But don't worry, the movie's coming out soon. So that's why it's important for us to be out here, because the media continues to lie, distort, and obfuscate, and we are more and more becoming and replacing the mainstream media. So that's why I think we need to stop referring to them as the mainstream and instead recognize them for who they are, collaborators and criminals, part of the conspiracy of 9/11.
Absolutely. So tell us your website, tell us all your videos, your recent film, all the stuff where people could find it, how they could contribute to you, and much more.
Yeah, I'm basically here on the street. I only got a couple copies left. I'm hawking my DVD for $5 each. I normally don't ask for any kind of money, but I'm working on setting up a PayPal account and revamping my website is wearechangenewjersey.com, spelled all the way out, not NJ, wearechangenewjersey.com, or you can follow me on Twitter and on YouTube at wearechangenj. And yesterday, the night before that, I published brand new videos from September 11th, as well as some of our clips from our movie screening that we had a couple nights ago. So I regularly post new updates on my YouTube channel. That's probably the best place where you can find my information. That's youtube.com/wearechangenj. And you better hurry, because all types of YouTube accounts are being shut down and purged and modified and cleared out because of different reasons, copyright infringement or whatever. So it's very important that we use the web while we still can, especially YouTube, for its ease of access and ease of use. So definitely check me out on We Are Change NJ on YouTube. As well, you can just search for my new film series, 9/11 Gate, by typing into YouTube 911 GATE, that's 9/11 Gate, one word, or you can look at other people's videos by typing in NIST FOIA 9/11. That's NIST FOIA 9/11, and you can sort by upload date, view count, and relevance, and you can find all the different videos that different researchers have been putting out since this leak of information 2 years ago. So now it's 2 years later, we're here in 2012 trying to get the public to realize that the truth about 9/11 is available It's just not being reported on. So that's why we're here on the streets, giving out DVDs as well as doing interviews and giving out flyers, because it's simply not going to be broadcast on the television. As the old cliche goes, the revolution will not be televised. Perhaps it will be YouTube or live streamed. So this is Glenn Zarmanov, the Glenn Z Show. You can check me out as well on Blog Talk. We are Change New Jersey, signing out.